All right. Hello, everybody. Jono here from the Course Creator community. Super excited for this week's podcast because I've got a very special guest who's also from Australia, the other side of Australia to me, but still Australia. So we'll count him. A little bit about this person. He's the co-founder at Members Pro, which is course software that will help your members win. He's the podcast host at the Membership Marketing Podcast, which will be launching very soon. And he's an absolute weapon when it comes to helping membership site owners and course creators. So without further ado, let me introduce the one and only Mr. Chris Benetti. Chris, how are you?
Good, man. How are you?
Yes, I'm awesome. Did I pronounce that right, Benetti?
It's a pass. It's Benetti, but yeah, you're pretty good.
I should have checked because my surname, no one ever gets it right. So I'm like, you know what? I should be asked these people, but I saw yours. I'm like, it's not too long. I should be able to do it. But just as I was reading it out, I'm like, it's trickier than it sounds. Anyway, so Chris, say it again. Benetti. All right, got it. Well, Chris, before we get into it, I like to start all my podcasts off with a quote or mantra that inspires you or fires you up. Have you got one for us?
Yeah, so you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This has been one that's impacted me for close to a decade now. When I was working in the mines and had aspirations for being free from all of that stuff, it appeared to me in several different books while I was still getting inspiration to making the jump to this very special space. And it's something that I've really lived by and grown my business by for the past 4 years. And it's so impactful for me.
Yes, love it. My background's in fitness, and that's just as important, if not more important in fitness than it is in business. And I learned this I learned it in fitness because it's like you could give 2 people the exact same workout program, exact same nutrition program. If one of them, their social circle is 5 people that don't exercise, that eat really bad. The other person has got 5 people who do active stuff, who eat really healthy. It's almost common sense when you look at it like that. How much easier is it going to be for that person to be successful if when they're hanging out with their friends, they're eating healthy and going for walks, when these people are eating unhealthy and sitting on the couch? And it's just as important in business as well. So I love that there. One follow-up question there, Chris, before we get into it. Let's say someone's watching this and they're like, yeah, Chris, all well and good, buddy, but I don't have 5 millionaires as friends. I don't have 5 super successful, friends. Any advice for those people there, what they can do?
Yeah, so I didn't either when I started out, right? There's really a few different ways. I would say books, like don't discount books. Like you can learn a lot from people in books. And if you spend most of your time reading specific authors and people that inspire you, you're going to be much better off than the people who just go out and party with mates every weekend, The second thing is join communities. Like you're in the right place. If you're watching this on Facebook right now, if you're listening to this podcast, you're also in the right place. So communities, and I would say the third thing is podcasting. Like there's a lot of different show hosts that have amazing value to give, and they also bring on amazing experts as well to help influence you and their audience, give value, heaps of different things. So that's 3 really quick avenues that I did when I was starting out and when I didn't have any millionaire friends. So definitely do the same.
Yes, love it. No, I'll piggyback off that as well. That's exactly what I did. The first book I read in that sort of genre was Think and Grow Rich. I'm sure you've probably read that one, Chris.
Yeah.
And then one of his chapters, he talks about he had imaginary friends. He would do masterminds in his heads. What would Thomas Jefferson think about this? What would Abe Lincoln think about this? And at the start, I'm like, man, this guy's lost it. But then eventually I started to do that. I'd binge Tony Robbins YouTube clips and, that sort of stuff. And then it would get me thinking, okay, what would Tony Robbins do? I binged on a podcast. I don't know. Do you know AJ Merzard? Do you know him at all? He's friends with Kim Barrett. No, okay.
Actually, yes, I do.
Online fitness coach. Yeah. So I started binging on his podcast, and then same thing. I was having these mini masterminds in my head. Okay, what would AJ do? Okay, what would Tony Robbins do? And then before long, you're hanging out with them more than you are your friends. So I love that you brought that up. Chris, before we get into it, I know you've got a bit of a speech or a presentation plan, but before we get into that, I've obviously been following you for a couple of weeks now. I've had a look into what it is you do. For someone that hasn't heard of you, for someone that hasn't heard of Members Pro, what is it essentially you do there?
Yeah, I mean, I really I handle the customer support and success at Members Pro. So ultimately, my role in our business is I really just want to help everyone who comes onto our platform. I want to see them have success, and I'll ultimately do whatever I can to help them get to that success. Whether it's just getting started, set up integrations, the confusing tech stuff, actually launching stuff, or jumping on a call and seeing what people can what people need from me in terms of like just launching things, or even planning out their membership or their courses. Like ultimately, like when you join Members Pro, you kind of have me as like a person in your corner and as a coach in a sense. And I really think that's what sets Members Pro apart from the others. Like the overwhelming sort of feedback as a company is that we just have fantastic support, and it's something that I'm really proud of. And you look at a lot of big very successful software companies in the space, and not many of them are acknowledged for good support. A lot of them have subpar support, and a lot of people get very annoyed and vocal about that sort of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'm really just here to help you win at the end of the day. And when you use Members Pro as a platform, that ultimately helps your customers win. So it's sort of a trifecta there.
Yes, I love it because it's so congruent. That's when I started to check out Members Pro, I'm like, okay, it looks like these people are about giving the best experience for the course creators' students. And then it's so congruent because it's like the only way you can really preach that is if you do it yourself for your customers there. So it's I love how that trickles down. Well, hey Chris, let's get into it. I know you've got a bit of a speech plan, so I'm going to hand it over to you and start where you want to start. And you're okay if I jump in if I've got any questions along the way?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And
awesome.
I'm more than happy to do like a wrap up Q&A at the end if you want, with the people who leave comments in the group if they do. So I'll just preference and just say, like, anyone who's watching, I don't generally create presentations. I am more of like here's a simple slide. Let's just elaborate on it. Like, let's just talk about it. Let's go through all of the information and I'll try and provide value that way. But I think there's going to be some really cool insights for anyone listening, anyone watching. You don't need to be watching is sort of what I'm saying, because my slides are simple. So anyone who's listening to the podcast is going to get the same amount of value from this presentation. So
awesome. Let's do it.
All right. So memberships, your question's answered. So this is really the most common questions I get when it comes to memberships, to courses, to customer success, customer engagement, customer journey. That there's a lot of different things that revolve around memberships. They're actually quite complex, but when you sort of understand the ins and outs of them, it is a fantastic business to set up, and I'm sure Jono can attest to that. It is just probably the best business model that you can set up for recurring revenue, for giving value consistently, for helping customers win, and it's just an all-around win-win-win for everyone who's involved.
Agree.
So the 3 R's are probably the most common thing that comes up. That is revenue, refunds, and retention. So when it comes to revenue, some common questions that I've been asked in the past is how to scale numbers whilst also keeping a personalized service. So my main feedback is the amount of touch points and how I can care more with scale. It sort of feels impossible to me. So when it comes down to scaling with numbers and keeping a personalized service, I really recommend working in some processes that help support the way that you like to deliver your content, the way that you like to deliver your product and your service, and also helping with people coming through as well. So some examples here. If you have a new customer coming into your membership and you really want to have the the service feel personalized, you can automate email sequences alongside content delivery. It's really effective. You can you can automate text message services and messenger services as well, which is, just different touch points. At the end of the day, like, most people feel like they're not getting a personalized service because there aren't as many touch points. They don't feel like they're being communicated to. And so having different automated touch points, avenues that go alongside content delivery and you giving value is really going to help your product or your membership stand aside from other people's. Another thing you can do alongside this is obviously have a community for your membership where you jump in there and personally answer questions, or you have sort of a team member. This can be a